Alright guys, this video we're just going to cover the reporting workflow, which is getting all your applications to your database. And before we start, I just want to explain the data flow architecture one more time, where essentially what we're doing is we're capturing all the data sources like payments, leads, webinar registrants, opt-ins on ClickFunnels, submissions in Typeform, Jotform, calls booked, no-show, show, pretty much all the conversion metrics that happens on the top funnel. And then what we're doing is we're sending all this data to NAN as kind of like our ETL processor. And then for the customer related information like opt-ins, applications, calls booked, show, no show, cancellations, low ticket purchases, high ticket purchases, and refunds, support tickets, and all that as well, you can think of the same process. It goes to GoHighLevel to enrich the contact and the custom fields. And then once this contact is updated in GoHighLevel, there is a GoHighLevel workflow, which is the reporting workflows in our CRM that goes back to NAN with the enriched data, the tracking data and all of that. And then it sends to Supabase so we can analyze in Metabase. And then also it's sending for hires attribution or wicked attribution, whatever you use. And that has an open API, you can do it. So in this video, I'm just going to explain the application portion, where I'm going to give you an example of a Typeform submission where basically whenever someone submits this form, it's going to trigger this workflow over here. And these workflows, they are already like templates that we're sharing in the program. But when we trigger this workflow, what we're essentially doing is populating the CRM information. We're adding a tag, we're adding a note, and we're sending this data to Slack. And then we're sending this data to GoHighLevel workflow. This setup has been shared already, but if you just want to see, like basically it's going to be your form data. And then we use the save execution data to make sure that whenever we use the save execution, we can go to executions and use the logs and then get like contact email and then put the information that we did there. And then it's just going to filter out by the contact email. One thing to keep in mind about N8N is that N8N it clears the execution logs. So it doesn't really increases the database size and crashes. Because it's a self-hosted tool, we want to make sure we're taking care of the database and the CPU usage. But here, the save execution data is just easy to reference. So here we just put this information, whatever information you want to put, really. I always like to put the contact email. And then this is just treating the data in terms of getting the submission date and submission time. And here we're just mapping the CRM fields in a set node. I always like to do that before importing the information into the CRM. Then we just populate the CRM information with it's important always to send the ID and the dates and the form custom fields, right? That's what we're doing across the whole funnel. And then here we're just setting the contact ID to add a tag. This HTTPs, they're always going to be shared with you. This template's already shared, so don't need to stress too much about it. Same here in terms of adding a note in the CRM, so we see when the application came through, etc. And then we're sending this Slack notification. And then here we're adding the contact to a workflow, which is part of the explanation that I share here, where it came from Typeform, it went to NAN, and then it goes to GoHighLevel to update the custom fields. Then it's going away from GoHighLevel here to NAN again to then update the applications to database. And here in the applications to database, in this case, we're using Wicked Reports, but essentially it's the workflow triggers with all the contact information. In this case, because you have like these two products, we just make this little filter here because there's two custom fields, and then we set the information here to capture the application data, and then we just use this one because these titles are the same on both forms, you can see here. And then in this case, they're using active campaign as well. So we're sending the update to the active campaign contact, and we're also sending the active campaign event. So we have all the tracking there. But the most important thing here to see, guys, is the enriching of the data. We are forwarding the information to Supabase, and we're sending all the data throughout the conversion cycle. All right, because what we're doing is we're doing this progressive data enrichment process where it's like lead fills the form, NAN end does the population in the CRM, creates or updates the contact, it updates the custom fields, it goes to a GoHighLevel workflow, it goes back to NAN, it records the data in the database, and then lead books, same process. But when this happens, you can see that the fields here, it's not only like the booking fields, but also the application fields. So we're forwarding this information throughout the whole conversion process. So by the end of it, we have the full record, right? So here in the applications to database, that's essentially what you do. You connect your tool here. This also has Jotform, so it's the exact same process. And then you just want to send to the CRM here. And then same goes for the workflow here for the applications to database. You'll notice that all the workflows to populate the database are the same. We're just changing which type of conversion we're tracking. And then here is example another account. So in this case, I'm using a GoHighLevel survey. So the difference is that in the GoHighLevel survey, I have this GHL survey to CRM. Whenever the survey is submitted, I'm sending the survey to NAN, and there's just a couple of differences that we have to make because it's a GoHighLevel survey. One of them is getting the survey data here, and then the thing here, it's important to note when it comes to GoHighLevel is that whenever we're using GoHighLevel, we're always going to query the complete list of all the surveys the person has completed in the past. So in this case, it's going to give the whole list of surveys they've completed. So if I just show you like as an example here, this is from where I want to pull the data from. So if I just change this to like, it's going to get this and just put like, you can see that inside GoHighLevel, it just sends all the submissions, but we just want to get the newest one. So we use the split out function mapping to the submissions, and then that's gonna break this array here, this array of submissions into separate chunks that we can work separately. So you can see there's two items here, and then what we want to do is I'm just sorting the submissions so I can get the latest submission here, and then I'm limiting only to get the latest submission, and then I'm using this free IP lookup tool to get my contact information. So I'm getting where the contact is from, and then I'm updating the CRM with the last application date, submission ID, application title, IP address, application time, MQL score, postal code, state. The reason why we want to update the location information inside our CRM is because whenever we're going to be using a dialer, an AI dialer especially, in AI SMS booking, we want to make sure we have the customer time zone properly set up so that once we're offering appointment slots through SMS and through voice and we're booking the customer, we know for a fact that we're booking the customer on the right time zone. So that's why we do that. And then here we just add to application to database workflows, similar to the end step here. We're just doing the same thing here, and then that will trigger this workflow over here where essentially we're just getting the application. So it's going to trigger this workflow, and it's just going to send the information to the final database, right? So it's going to just send the information. You can see in the execution here that it just successfully executed the data. And then what we're doing here, it's the same process. We have these templates. So it's like you're going to get this output. You're going to set the fields. I like to send the information to a Slack bot, which we've already covered how to set that up. Then we're going to make sure that we're creating the contact in Hyros, and we're sending the data to the database. And essentially that's what it is, the application to database workflow. Inside the course, you're going to see that below there's going to be all the templates that you can download for Jotform, Typeform, GoHighLevel, triggers, and then the workflow for the applications. It's also going to be inside your CRM. And what we're trying to do is just link the lessons so you can see like what's up here. If you have any questions, you can just click, you can go to the video and you can better understand. All right, so that's it for this video.